actually, and then, to kick off this discussion about horror movies, I actually had to rearrange my schedule tomorrow and the following day with two other coworkers so I could go tomorrow night and go see The Shining in remastered 4K in the theater.
Oh, nice. I even look up when that was playing for me, but I do want to go see that, but I haven't bothered to look it up. So
I think it's kind of dumb. They announced it like 3 days before the first showing, which was on Thursday, and then the only other night is tomorrow, and then that's it. It's like, you guys should have given people a little bit more of, advance. Like, come on.
Yeah, they do that with those kind of re-release screenings. They kind of give you no warning, and then it plays for like 2 days and it's gone, and that's it. You missed it.
Yeah, and then the 4K Blu-ray comes out tomorrow, so I'll be looking forward to your post if you pick it up.
I'm thinking about it. It's tempting because I own it on I want to say 3 different formats. I think I own like 2 different Blu-rays, and then I own a DVD.
Yeah.
I'm like, do I need it on 4K? I was like, I probably need it on 4K. And the artwork looks super cool.
I keep seeing. Yeah, it's got awesome new artwork.
That's how they get me every time.
I actually used some of my my Regal credits to redeem a poster of that for, I guess it wasn't free. I had to pay $8 for shipping. But hey, $8 for a poster of that artwork, that's fine with me.
I do, yeah. I like that artwork a lot, so I think that's worth it. So
yeah, definitely, and it's going to be nice seeing it on a huge screen with reclining chairs, big old lazy boy chairs. Because I had never gone to that theater before. I kind of just stick to we have a theater in the city I live in. It's only 7 screens. It's very small. It's been there, man, for as long as I can remember. But then you go 30 miles down the freeway and there's, a good 6 or 7 more, but we always stick to the kind of smaller one, even though it's a little bit nicer. But a coworker told me about the one that I went to go see It Chapter 2, and it had the reclining seats and all that. I was like, oh my God, I'm never going to another theater again.
We have one like that around here called Cinema Cafe, which has got big reclining seats, and it's basically they serve you food like restaurant style.
Oh, wow.
Which once you go to that one, it's kind of hard to go back to just the, jacked up, uncomfortable seats and the other theaters around here.
Yeah, no kidding.
But that place, though, speaking of horror movies, can kill the atmosphere for a horror movie because you're watching it and the waiters come by and then they try to give you food or grab a receipt and you're like, get out of the way, you just ruined the jump scare.
Yeah, so. I don't know if I would like that then. Just in general, get everything you need either on your own before the movie starts or just get up at your own leisure.
Yeah, I mean, they try to not be invasive, but sometimes it's impossible, and sometimes they can't time it. I see pretty much everything there, but sometimes it's horror, I don't want to go there because I know that's not going to be the best environment to see that movie in.
Yeah.
But, although Hereditary there was amazing because we went late at night, and there was no one it was a huge theater. They have this one theater that's gigantic, you think it'd be an IMAX theater, but it's not. It's just this gigantic auditorium theater, and they played it in there with me and 6 other people.
Oh wow!
And which was actually more terrifying because it's pitch black. I can kind of see people, but not really, and it's kind of I'm all isolated by myself.
Yeah.
And so that one actually worked, but most of the time it's not great. But
that was definitely it's been over a year since Hereditary came out, and people are still talking about their theater going experiences with it because it's a rough one, but in a good way.
That movie blew me away. I think I said my number 1 last year, or it might have been Avengers. I can't remember, but it was up there for me. It was top 3 of 2018. That thing knocked me on my ass because it was the horror. I don't know about you. I watch horror movies these days. I feel like I've seen so many, I'm desensitized. Yeah. So I see one like that, it scared the shit out of me.
Oh yeah, definitely.
The ending, the last 20 minutes is like a panic attack. It's
yeah.
And actually, it's funny because I loved it, but I haven't rewatched it, and I don't know. I grab it. I'm like, do I want to watch this again? I don't know. It was too traumatizing the first time, but it's so good, and I feel bad. I saw people post that movie was very divisive, and I saw people post and say that they went to a theater and everybody laughed. And I'm like, what? That part. I could see that because people got uncomfortable and they laughed, but it was that's just I feel that's bad for that's unfortunate if you went to that and like because then you're probably gonna start laughing and it breaks the tension. Like my theater was dead quiet, pitch black, like
Yeah.
but like if people are laughing, it just kills the whole thing. So yeah.
Like I said, maybe they were just too uncomfortable, and that's the only way they could deal with it was just with laughing.
Yeah, no, I mean I could see that. I'm just glad I didn't have to experience that myself because it might have changed the movie for me.
Yeah.
So
I'm still bummed I haven't seen Midsummer yet.
I was about to ask you about Midsummer.
I saw it's on digital. I still haven't committed to paying the $15 to own it yet. I might just wait until it pops
comes
up on
out
Blu-ray.
soon, right? Like next week or this week. I feel like it's very soon.
Yeah, if it's not tomorrow, then it's the following Tuesday.
Hmm. Yeah, it was great. And the funny thing about that one was I saw it the first time. I thought it was good. Like I was like, oh, it's really good. I went back and saw that director's cut they re-released like a month ago.
Hmm.
Maybe not a month ago. And it was even better. I was like, oh, this
Oh
got
wow.
even better now. Yeah. The bad thing is though, I don't know if you heard about this. The director's cut, they're not releasing that like on Blu-ray. You have to buy it through Apple. It's an Apple exclusive.
Oh,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah. I was like, who, what? What is this? It's like, so that's how they're gonna start getting people. I think with just digital, it's like, oh, you can only get the director's cut through buying it digitally. But yeah, the director's cut, I think I might just like the movie more the second time. I really couldn't tell. I mean, there was just little stuff they added that really just kind of enhances the whole backstory and the characters. I mean, that movie's a trip. It's funny because I left Hereditary and was like so tense and so like freaked out. I left Midsummer and felt pretty good, pretty light. It's a whole. I won't spoil it because you haven't seen it, but it's a whole different thing. It's a very weird movie. But yeah, let me know when you see it because it's. I want to hear your thoughts on that one.
Yeah, definitely. I was curious because anytime there's a director's cut that comes out and I haven't seen the theatrical yet, I usually just go for the director's cut because more often than not, that's how the director wanted you to see it. So I was like, oh, I'll just wait for it to come out on digital and watch that one. But yeah, I was wondering about that because I didn't see it anywhere, and so I'm like you said, I'm assuming it's not even going to be on Blu-ray, right?
For right now, yeah. I think there's if you really want to see it, I think there's like a Region B like Blu-ray from UK you could import.
Oh, okay.
Which may or may not be able to. Depends on if it's a region-free Blu-ray, but maybe play on your player. I'm not sure. I'm sure eventually they'll drop the whole exclusive thing with Apple, like maybe another year, and it'll just be you can get on wherever. But that's why I went to go see it in theaters. I like rushed because I heard that and I was like, oh, this is only able to see this because I'm not going to be buying it through Apple. So
Yeah, no kidding.
I got to check this out. But I guess I give it like another 6 months here. That thing will be you can probably get it everywhere. So
Yeah, most likely. And then, like I said, as soon as it comes out on Blu-ray or whatever, I'll rent it and see if I feel like actually buying it. Because it was funny, like you said, I watched Hereditary and then was waiting for the Blu-ray to come out. The Blu-ray came out. I bought it. I still haven't watched it. I still haven't seen it since the first time in the theater.
And I don't know about you. I do this thing sometimes with movies that I really, really love or really like the first time where I almost don't want to rewatch them because I'm afraid that they won't be as good as the first time I watched them. It's a weird thing. Maybe I do. I've done that with a lot of movies over the past couple of years where it'll be like my favorite movie of the year. Then I go back and I buy the Blu-ray and everything, but I'm like, I don't want to rewatch it because I don't want to like lose its power, I guess, is how I heard tell this other podcast. And it's like sometimes you watch a movie and you don't want to rewatch it because it was like a very special experience. And then it's like you watch, you might kind of take that away. It might be not as good as the first time. But Hereditary is mostly because I don't know if I can emotionally go through that again. It was a trauma. It was horrible.
Yeah.
But well made.
Oh God, yeah, definitely. Have you seen Ari Aster's short film, something about the Johnsons or whatever it's
Oh
called?
my God. Oh boy. It's funny you bring that up. I'm assuming you've seen it. You're asking me about it.
Yeah, I somehow came across it. Oh, I came across it a while back, and I saved it on a YouTube playlist, and then I got to watching this interview with this group of I don't know if you know who Brockhampton is.
That name sounds
They're
familiar.
a hip hop group, even though they call themselves a boy band. But they actually know they're really young, but they actually know their stuff about movies, and that's what they were talking about was movies. And one of them said, "Oh yeah, like something about the Johnsons." I was like, they were both like, "Go watch it right now." And someone goes, "But don't watch it. You shouldn't watch it." And I was like, "Well, now I have to." And I watched it immediately after, and holy shit!
Yeah, holy shit, it's right. Yeah, I'm actually okay. This is funny. A month or two ago, my friend brought this up to me, and was like, "Have you seen Strange Thing about the Johnsons?" Sorry, I asked her short film. I said, "No, I haven't even heard of it." And he goes, "We got to watch it." But I won't even say it right now. But he told me kind of like the twist, I guess you could say, or the uh, I don't know, the what like the opening kind of starts, and you think one thing's happening, and then let's say a picture is unfurled, and you're like,
Yeah,
oh.
yeah.
My
That's all
friend
it
told
takes.
me that was what was happening, and I was kind of mad at him. I was like, damn it, I wanted my reaction when I saw that picture because I would have like fallen out of my chair. And we showed a friend that like just a couple weeks ago. We were like, we gotta share this short film, and we didn't tell him what was going to happen, and he like freaked out. It's like, what is this? And I said, I just keep watching. And he made us
Yeah.
like 20 minutes in. He's like, please turn it off. I don't want to watch this anymore. And between that and Hereditary and Midsummer, I think Ari Aster might need to see someone. Like he might need a therapist or something is going on. I'm concerned at this point.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh, I mean, I don't know the specifics of Midsummer, but I thought I read somewhere that he said he doesn't want to be typecast as a horror director, so either this
Yeah.
whatever his next movie isn't going to be a horror movie, or it is, but that's going to be his last one for a while.
I had heard, yeah, I heard he wanted to get away from it and not just be a horror director, which is fine because I'm sure he can do, whatever at this point. That because God, between Midsummer, there was some Kubrick in there, and I'm like, this guy could do, any genre he wants. Like, and there's weird genre mixing going on in Hereditary or Midsummer. There's like weird comedy.
Yeah, I heard it was strangely funny.
It is strangely funny. We're like that when we were laughing through me and my friends the first time we saw it. I mean, it was kind of nervous, but also because it was genuinely funny. Like he writes it part of it to be funny, and it's pitched at a way that's so over the top at points that it's like he's telling me to laugh. There's no way this isn't supposed to be funny. So, yeah, I mean, whatever he does next, I will watch it because everything I've seen so far. I mean, even the short is, it is what it is, but
Yeah.
it's interesting. So everything has been interesting, and we need more of that. So, anybody who does interesting films, I will go see at this point. So,
And when we know he can obviously do, if he went away from a horror movie, he can obviously do just a straight up family drama and have it be effective. That's for sure.
that's true. Yeah. And everyone should go watch Anything About the Johnsons and don't spoil it before you watch it.
Yeah, no kidding. I did the opening scene, and not spoiling anything. Just
Uh-huh.
it's they set it up to be just kind of awkward, but it's just like, okay, it's just this again kind of family drama thing, and you've seen something like this before, and so you're just kind of sitting there just waiting for something to happen, and it's strange because it's such a short scene, but yet there is this tension and build up, and I can't remember if I was thinking of the twist or not, but I knew something was coming, but then they revealed it, and I was just like, well, holy shit. Like, I don't know if I was thinking that, but that is just, what the hell?
I would have never thought of that.
Yeah.
That. And the funny thing about that one is that is like put at a level where it's like so over the top that some parts of it are funny. It's kind of the same thing with like there's some some things that happen where it's like, am I supposed to laugh at this? Like I don't know what he wants me to do, and it's which I still find interesting. I mean, I find it's bananas. I don't even know what to say. It's
Yeah.
just yeah.
They have, horror's always categorized as like unsettling or whatever. I think he does uncomfortable horror.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, some of the stuff in Hereditary that's not even like the scary stuff is just uncomfortable. Like like the family fights and just like the grief and all. It's all just the movie's uncomfortable. That is an uncomfortable movie to sit through.
Yeah.
Like, which is important in horror movies. I feel like that's something people I think forget. I'm like, oh, it's not all like bloody and gory and where's the kills, and it's like, well, it could still be tense and unsettling and it's like that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So
That's kind of that's the thing that kind of bugs me is people like, oh, I went and saw this movie, it was so scary, I jumped like 20 times. I'm like, that's not scary. I can make a loud noise right now and scare you, but it's not scary. It would be funny.
right, that will work in the moment. That will not stick with you down, when you go home that, I mean, I don't, maybe some people, I don't know, maybe we're weird, but it's
Yeah,
like, I know like you jump in the moment and you laugh and it's over, but like something, I'm trying to think of something besides Hereditary, but keep referencing it,
I know.
but that really, it's just, like the stuff that you don't quite see or that you don't understand is the stuff that I feel like really is scary. Like
Yeah,
when you full on like see the monster, I feel like that always becomes like less scary. But when you kind of think, wait, what did I just see? What was that? Or, what's going on? Like that's the stuff that really gets under my skin where I don't even know what the hell was happening.
yeah.
Yeah,
Have you watched the Haunting of Hill House series on Netflix?
I did. And I thought it was fantastic. I
Oh,
thought it
it's
was amazing.
amazing. I'm rewatching it for like I think it's the third time. After we watched it when it first came out, I waited a few months and then watched it again. And now that it's starting to be the spooky season, I started watching it again. But um, Mike Flanagan in general is just amazing at doing horror movies because they are horror movies. He has jump scares, but at least he makes them effective into where there's a point behind it, not just to make you jump and then let's move on to the next scene.
Right. We had
Like,
the cat pop out for no reason.
yeah,
Just to, like, yeah, Mike Flanagan's track record is actually amazing. I have a friend who me and him are big Mike Flanagan fans. We always talk about this guy. If you look at his filmography, it's really solid from the beginning to now. He doesn't really have any like duds in there. Like
I think the only one I haven't seen is didn't he do an Annabelle movie? Or no, not Annabelle, the Ouija movie. The second one, I think.
he did.
That's the only
I'm
one I
double
haven't
checking.
seen.
I thought that was scary as shit. I was like,
I heard it was actually
that
really good, yeah.
it was really good. The first Ouija, I'm trying to remember if I saw the first Ouija movie. If I did, it's very forgettable.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I
But
know
the
I have,
second,
but I don't remember a single thing from it.
I mean, it really, that was another movie that actually genuinely scared me. Um, there's just some really creepy, he's good at like really creepy images and just like creepy moments. It's not all like boo jump scare. It's just he really works up the atmosphere and the tension, um, which is why I'm excited. He's doing Doctor Sleep, right?
Oh yeah.
I am really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And he did a great job with Gerald's Game, which I thought was everyone always said I think I heard was unadaptable,
Hmm.
which apparently he did it. So
Oh yeah, he did it great too.
so yeah, he's great. And then that was another one that caused controversy because at first everyone was I felt like in love with Hill House, and then I saw some backlash, and I'm into like Facebook scary movie groups and all that, where people were like, "This show's like This Is Us, but or like This Is Us horror, but it's not even scary," and it's like you're really missing the point.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean that's fine if you watch horror movies for like gore and crazy stuff. I mean, I watch them for that too, but it's just like
Yeah,
I'm
you're
just
watching that
surprised.
for the fun of it.
Right, I'm surprised people can't accept that a show is doing more than just being scary. It's also there's a family drama and it's emotional and it's all kinds of stuff and I'm just surprised people had a problem with that. But I mean, it was great. And I don't watch a lot of TV shows. That's hard to get me to watch. I'm usually watching movies, so it's hard to get me to like watch a show. And
Yeah.
everyone kept talking about that one, and I was like, all right, I got to watch this. And I powered through it like in 2 days because it was amazing. So
Yeah, I had heard that they had released it and I was just like, "Oh, that's kind of cool. Like I know the story. I've never read the book, but I know the story." And then I had heard that Mike Flanagan wrote and directed the entire thing and that was what made me just immediately jump on it.
mhm.
And
that was another thing. I was like, oh, he's doing it. Okay, I'll give it a chance. So
yeah, like I think it had already been on there for maybe a week, but then I heard a lot of people talking about it and I was just like, "Huh, I wonder like who was involved." And then I saw, Mike Flanagan wrote and directed all 10 episodes and I was just like, "Holy shit, I'm watching this right now."
yeah, no, it was great. Another thing that's kind of was a heavy show though. I don't know if I mean I'm sure I'd revisit it at some point, but man, that ending near the end it was like whew, it was a lot. It was
Yeah.
like if horror makes me cry, that's fine. So be it. I think some people have a problem with it. They're like I don't want to cry watching horror. Like
Yeah, but see, that's them tapping into the elements that horror movies don't really hit. All they hit is is your scary bone and then nothing else really. Like that's kind of it. But that's the thing about horror is it's all encompassing. Again, it makes you laugh and it makes you scared, and like you said, it can also make you cry too.
yeah, and this is why I love horror movies. I don't know if we're going to talk in general, but I think people ask me all the time. It's like because I don't have a lot of friends that really like horror movies that much, and they're like, "Why do you like horror movies so much?" It's also not kind of my. I don't seem like the kind of guy that would love horror movies. I feel like I don't know. People were like, "Oh, you like all that scary, gory stuff," but I like how horror movies can be so many different things. Horror comedy. You've got slasher movies. You've got supernatural. You've got, I mean, just I'm already blanking. You've got, psychological stuff. You've got all kinds of different genres to hit. So I feel like you can just find anything you want at that moment in horror. And even if a horror movie is bad, I feel like usually it gives me something like, somewhat entertaining in some way. But if like a comedy is bad, that's just gonna be bad. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, no kidding.
That's just going to be horrible. So yeah, horror is just fun because it just hits so many different things. It's yeah.
So what's your favorite horror movie?
Oh man, I thought you might ask me that. I think
I have an ever changing answer, but I'll give you mine in a minute. Go ahead.
Let me give you a top three.
There you go. No, that's good.
And it's really, I feel it's funny because I watch so many different horror movies and all kinds, but my top three are like a very basic top three. Mm-hmm. I would say number one's Nightmare on Elm Street. Mm-hmm. Number two is the original Halloween. To really clarify that these days.
Yeah, no kidding.
And number three is Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Ooh, yeah. See, Texas Chainsaw Massacre has always been one that I've always really liked, and I've always said is one of my favorite horror movies. But then, anytime I go back to watch it, like I'll grab it to go put it on, and I'm just like, you know what? I don't feel like being this down right now. You know, like
it's you got to be in a mood for it. It's it's a thing, and I've gotten better with that one for a long time. The funny thing was about two of those three, and I'll go back, like two of those three I just named, I had to come back to them multiple times because I couldn't handle them the first time. Like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like first time I saw it, I was like, what is this? I don't get it. This is terrifying. Mm-hmm. It's just people screaming. It's like, and now I see all this weird comedy that Tobe Hooper put in there. Like, and I don't know if you know that he did Texas Chainsaw Massacre too, which is like this completely over the top, like the comedy's like weird in that one. It's like black humor. The first one was supposed to be funnier and no one got the comedy. So Tobe Hooper was like, oh, I got to ramp up that comedy in the second one because nobody got it the first time.
Yeah.
So now there's all this just weird stuff in that movie. And I mean, the movie, like, that's another one I don't watch too much for a few reasons because I don't want to like lose its power because it feels so raw. Like it feels so like this is like dangerous and this shouldn't exist. Like who made this craziness? Like I always compare because a lot of people like the remake with Jessica Biel, which I think is good.
Yeah, it's definitely better than most remakes, that's for sure.
But it's so like slick compared to the original that I feel like it loses the power of the original.
Yeah.
Like the original feels so just like scary and dangerous and like, crazy that it's just
it's almost got like a snuff film vibe to it because it's so low budget looking and just very it's just very on looking and not, very straightforward as, storytelling. It's just kind of like you're here to observe this bad shit that's going to happen to these people,
Right. Even like the opening narration is scary to me. Like,
oh God, yeah.
It's like that kind of stuff is like, ooh, okay, we're going to see some real shit now. And the ending.
Yeah, they basically tell you what you're in for and what's about to happen. So now you know what to anticipate, which you would think would kind of kill the scariness of it. But it, like you said, it only just ramps it up, makes it even more scary.
Yeah. I mean, it's just crazy from like start to finish, basically. I mean, it has that opening I think people have problems with where they're in the van and it's kind of that's weird too. I mean, the whole thing is just weird from start to finish, but I love it because I've become like a big Tobe Hooper fan over the past like few years. And he just has this weirdness and crazy humor through his movies. It's just like kind of maniacal and I really like it. So that one, and then the other one I was going to say that scared me. This is like Nightmare on Elm Street for me is like the be all end all because I cannot tell you how afraid I was of Freddy Krueger when I was a kid, like petrified, like, and we had a local video store. I always tell the story. That's how scared I was of this guy. We had a local video store. I don't remember what Nightmare movie was coming out. They had a big cardboard cutout of Freddy Krueger right in front of the friggin' door.
Oh, shit.
So I was so scared to go in that like I'd hide behind my parents and then also like run and close my eyes and run past him to get like to the videos. Like, and I remember one time my dad and I were watching some movie and I was probably like 5, 6 and like just a preview came on for like I think it was Nightmare 5 because I remember like the stroller was a dream child. Just the preview came on for a Freddy movie, and I was like freaked out. I was like, "Stop it! I don't want to do this anymore." We weren't even watching the movie; it was just a preview, and I was like,
Yeah.
"I can't do this." My dad was like, "It's okay, calm down." We turned the movie off. Like, so he was like my Mount Everest. I feel like, and I'm gonna go off on a tangent here, but like, I don't know about you. Like, I really had to get to a place where I loved horror because I was so scared of it for a long time. Like,
Hmm.
I didn't really even like through like my teenage years. I didn't even really like go near horror movies. I was like, oh, I'm not into that really. Like I'd see the big ones or whatever, but nothing too crazy. And I was still so scared of Freddy and all that kind of stuff. Like, and it took me a long time to kind of ease into horror. Like I'd find things that were like, okay, this feels okay. Like, like I watched Tales from the Hood a lot on HBO.
Oh
I
God, I
used
love that movie.
I freaking love that movie. That is
Yeah.
one of the best horror anthologies ever made. And I could watch that. And I'm like, okay, this feels safe enough. It was still a little scary, but I'm like, this is cool.
Hmm.
It's fine. And like stuff like that would help ease me in. And then I remember the first time I watched Nightmare on Elm Street 2 all the way through at like a friend's house for a sleepover because I didn't want to run away. So I was
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna watch this movie, and I made it, and I was like, you know what, I can do this, and I started just like layering on more and more. And in the past few years, I feel like I've really like just kicked it. Now I'm watching like every horror movie that comes out, basically.
Yeah, no
So
kidding.
yeah,
I think with Nightmare 2, that's definitely this. I think that's the scariest they've ever made him look with his makeup, and they made his eyes really kind of like witchy looking. I don't know how to
he's
describe it.
terrifying in that one. I mean, he's scary in the first one. He seems more like vicious in the second one, even like he's like coming at people's tearing people's bodies apart. There's that whole scene at the pool, like the barbecue or like the pool scene, which
Which
was pretty.
it's
Yeah,
yeah, it's really scary, but also it kind of makes no sense. Like
yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
they totally just like forgot the rules. Like, oh, that's right. He can only do this in people's dreams, and suddenly this entire pool party just went to sleep, and now he's here.
Suddenly he's
Like
out. That
yeah.
was, two was a really weird outlier for the whole series. Like it's because I just watched. It's funny because I feel like I'm starting my Halloween movies early. I just watched Nightmare 3, 4, and 5.
Mhm.
That's kind of its own little trilogy, like connected there. And like I remember thinking like, yeah, 2 is really weird because Nightmare 1 is its own thing, and then you have 2 kind of out by itself, and then 3, 4, 5 connect, and then but it's like two is just weird. They break the rules. Uh, have you? I don't know if you know about this. There's the whole like gay undertones
Oh
that
yeah.
that apparently if you watch the Nightmare documentary called Never Sleep Again, which is amazing. It's like 4 hours long,
Yeah.
but it's so good. And everybody there knew what they were doing except for the director. The
Oh wow.
director is like, I didn't know there was anything gay going on. But the writer knew that. The main guy, Jesse, he knew it. He's gay in real life, and he
I was
was
gonna
like,
say I think he was openly out. Yeah.
yeah, he knew what was going on. He's like, yeah, you don't get me. There's like, it's like, so it's just a weird. So it's a good movie. It's very scary. But yeah, it's just I don't know where we're going with that tangent, but it's
No,
like
no yeah.
2 is weird. I like that whole series though. Honestly, I don't think there's like a Nightmare movie that even Freddy's Dead. I don't dislike Freddy's Dead.
Yeah.
But
I started listening to the Halloweenies podcast. It's also run by the guys that do the Losers Club podcast. Um, last year they did the Halloween franchise. They did a movie a month, and then this year they did the Nightmare series, and they did a movie a month. So I was kind of following along with them and watching the movies for the corresponding month that they were going to be talking about them. And so it's funny because they were saying, even the worst Nightmare movie is still like the most imaginative movie. Like they were always trying to think of imaginative ways to kill people, or just even just the sets or what they were going to do with it. I think the guy said to pick the worst Nightmare movie, and it's still more imaginative than any of the Friday the 13th sequels.
I mean, that's probably true. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
As much as I like the Friday 13th movies, yeah, I mean, Nightmare's definitely got better, like more imaginative kills, and it's a more consistent series because Friday has some real duds in there.
I remember going on a marathon a long time ago when I was probably 17 or 18, and so I don't. I know I'll remember bits and pieces of them as I watch them, but as a whole, I remember the first 2. Jason X, just because that's more of a comedy, even though it's unintended to be a comedy.
Yeah, Jason X is pretty wild. That one I'm not sure because it's like I thought the same thing you did, where I thought, okay, they just totally misfired. But I watched it again, I think maybe a couple months ago, and the more people talk about it, I'm like, you know what? Maybe they meant to do that. It's so over the top that it's
Yeah.
almost like they must have meant to do this. But I can see people don't like it because it's very like meta and it's very, I mean, it's ridiculous. It is completely ridiculous, but it's kind of fun. I don't know. I take it over like Jason Goes to Manhattan and or Jason Takes Manhattan and maybe Jason Goes to Hell. I don't know if you've seen that one.
I have seen them, but like I said, it's been so long. I do remember them not being very good though. Whichever one where he was possessing people, like he wasn't even in it.
Oh, Jason Goes to Hell. Yeah,
That one I feel like
it's a
that's
weird
probably at the
one.
bottom of the list.
It's near the bottom. Yeah, I don't think it's funny with these like horror franchises. I feel like I just come to love them more and more all the time. Like even if they're not good, I feel like I just am like, okay, that's what I came for. Like it's like because Jason X I used to think was terrible, and now I'm like I kind of like Jason X, and like Jason Goes to Hell. I think I watched that like last year for the first time, and I thought, okay, because maybe everyone else talks about how bad it is for so long that I expect worse. I don't know, but maybe I'm just happy to be watching one of these slasher movies. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I do have some bones to pick with the Halloween franchise. There's a couple in there that I just absolutely hate and will not watch. Which
I've heard like three and not three. Sorry, I think I've heard four and five. It's been a long time since I've watched anything other than the first two, but I've heard four and five are pretty bad.
funny thing. I was listening to an old episode of your podcast with I follow this guy on Instagram too, Cam.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and you guys did horror movies I think last year. And I was listening to that to kind of make sure I didn't say the exact same things that you guys said, but I got a bone to pick with him because he crapped all over Halloween 4. I love Halloween 4.
Oh man.
I'm not that mad at him, but it's like Halloween 4 it's got a great like fall vibe. Like it feels very fall, very Halloween. Like it's pretty fun. Like I like Danielle Harris as Jamie Lloyd as Jamie Lee Curtis's daughter. And then the babysitter, I forgot her name. Oh, I'm gonna blank. There's like a nice like relationship between like her and her. Is her babysitter? I'm totally blanking right now, but like the whole, it's a fun. I mean, it's kind of weird. It's not the best, but I really like it. 5 is bad. Five is not good. 6 is even worse. And
See, I keep hearing a lot of people say that how terrible 6 was, but then they go back and revisit it and are like, you know what? It's not as bad as I remember.
that's what I thought was happening. So like last Halloween, I went on like I think I watched maybe basically the whole series, and like I went to 6, and I'd never seen 6 before. Or I hadn't seen it in a long time. I think I saw on TV, like, when I was a kid or something.
Yeah.
So, and everyone said, watch the director's cut. It's better, the producer's cut. And I was like, if this is better, I don't even want to know what the original cut was like. Because I couldn't stand it. Like, it made no sense. Someone's going to be very angry at me right now. But I just think 6 is like, it goes in this whole, like, Cult of Thorn stuff, which some people like for the Halloween series. Where people were like, bringing Michael Myers back time and time again, like they're possessing him. It's all this craziness. But like, I just don't like it. And then, I mean, the worst one is Resurrection, though. I think everyone agrees on that.
Yeah, but it's also one of those movies. I remember, I have a fun memory of it because we went and saw it in the theater, and so what came out 2002. So I was either 14 or 15, and like as terrible as it is, that's a perfect movie for a group of 14, 15-year-olds to go see, especially because like Busta Rhymes was in there. We were all into Busta Rhymes, and just so like we had a lot of fun with it. And even when I watch it, I'm like, okay, this movie is terrible. I know this is a horrible movie, but it must be the nostalgia thing. I was like, I still have fun watching it, even though it is god awful.
It might be, you know what? I need to watch it again. I'm punishing myself, but I should watch it again because I haven't seen that one in a while. But it might be, you're right, it might be more fun than like I think 5 or 6 is, because 5 or 6 are just kind of a drag. Resurrection has some wild stuff. He's doing karate against Michael Myers.
Yeah.
It's the whole Dangertainment like reality show thing going on, right? I mean, there's just some like really ridiculous, stupid stuff in that movie.
There's nothing redeeming or good about it, but if you experienced it when it first came out, or just when you were young, and then you watch it later on, it's bad, but you're like, I had fun watching it when I was little. I'll have fun watching it now.
Yeah, I mean, some of the best times I was going to see horror movies with friends in the theater, and but we didn't really hear what was going on because we were like teenagers. And it sounds like we're about the same age. Are you? I'm 32.
I just turned 31 last Wednesday.
Oh, okay. So yeah, we're pretty close.
Yeah.
Because you said 14, 15, Howard Resurrection. I was like, okay, that sounds about right. And I feel I got taken to some horror movies because, like I said, I wasn't too into it as a teenager, but I know I just got dragged to some. Did you, God, did you ever see Darkness Falls?
God, yes, unfortunately.
That, holy crap, that thing. Wow, what a piece of shit. And that's another one I see people like. There's this weird thing in horror too, where people tend to really revisit these movies and kind of like reevaluate them and make them, like, oh, it's not that bad, guys. Like the tide tends to turn. Like, Halloween 3 is a great example. I remember even when I was like younger, maybe like 10 years ago, even people hated that movie.
Hmm.
Like, there's no Michael Myers, like, and everyone's like, it's garbage, it's not good, it's boring, blah blah. And now it's like I feel like it's beloved. Like I'm in like every like horror group, like Instagram, like people like love that movie. And I watched it like for the first time a few years ago, and I thought it was like okay to good. Like I'm like it's kind of good.
It's
but
definitely 80s all the way.
oh, it's very 80s.
Yeah.
But yeah, stuff like that tends to happen a lot in horror, where something was just destroyed when it came out. People come back to it and go, you know what, it's not that bad.
Yeah. Darkness Falls is not one of them.
I saw some people. That's why my point was. People trying to defend it kind of recently, and I was like, "What are you talking about?"
They had to extend the credits because the movie itself was not long enough to put in theaters. Like, come on, that's a bad sign right there.
That's a bad sign.
I do have a fun memory with that movie because we wanted to see it. It looked scary. It looked fun. Went and saw it. It ended, and we all looked at each other like, okay, I feel like we just wasted our money on seeing that. So we went back out to the box office to see what else was playing. We went and saw Final Destination 2.
Oh, and that's a great movie. That's a fun.
It's another one where you from far away, you're like, okay, I can see how this is a terrible movie, but when you're experiencing it, it is so fun and over the top. That opening crash scene is probably number one on like car crash scenes of all time.
And it's terrifying because and that works because to this day, if I see a log truck, I'm getting out of the way of that truck. I'm like, okay, let me move to another lane.
Yeah, exactly. You know what is as terrible as it may be, I feel like that's the one people remember the most.
I think if you asked people, I think 2 is probably the like favorite of the franchise. I feel like that's kind of like a popular opinion. But I'd probably say it's my favorite. I think 4 is the only one that's like really shitty. Like the Final Destination, for some reason they dropped the 4 on that one. It was like the one in 3D with like the NASCAR race.
Oh, okay. Is that the one that is essentially a prequel? Or no? Or is that the next?
It's the last one.
That's the last
one.
one.
The last one was pretty good. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 5 good, 4 horrible.
Yeah, because I remember telling my girlfriend like a few years back, like have you watched the later Final Destination movies? And she said no. I was like, oh, there's I was like, there's a couple that are pretty bad, but there's one that's actually really good. And I was like, oh, I think it's this one. And we watched 4, and we got to the end, and I looked at her, and I was just like, sorry, it wasn't that one.
That wasn't it. Sorry.
That was not it.
I wasted an hour and 30 minutes of our lives.
Yeah,
I'm so
exactly.
Sorry.
And then I think immediately I put on the last one, and then I looked over, and I was like, it was this one.
The funny thing, too, about those movies is, though, they really run together. Like, if you asked me for, like, was this kill in that one? I probably could not tell you.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I can tell you the starting incident, like, usually what happens, but I can't tell you, like, oh, was the tanning bed one in this one? Or,
the LASIK one.
The LASIK one, yeah, which still is ridiculous, but kind of scares me from getting LASIK.
Oh, did you get LASIK?
No, but I have glasses, and I've thought about it. I'm like, I don't know, get my eyes lasered out by that. I saw it in a movie.
Yeah, no kidding.
No, it's completely stupid. But in that movie, I mean, it's funny because I feel like I tend to rate horror movies like in a vacuum. So like among the Final Destination movies, among those 5, I think these are really good. Like, but then if I like my friend is like watches horror too, and he watched like all the Friday 13s, and he's like, I don't get why you like these so much. Or he saw like my ratings on like Letterboxd, and he's like, you're rating these very high. And I said, yeah, but I'm coming to them like kind of knowing what I want or what I expect to get out of them, and they give me that. It's not, so I'm kind of rating them in like a vacuum amongst the series almost. Like if I listen, I'm I'm the guy that gave Friday 13th Part 7 The New Blood a 5 out of 5 on Letterboxd, and I
Oh
stand by
no.
that. I stand by that rating. And my friend was like, "Are you out of your mind?" And I said, "Listen, it's like my favorite Friday movie. Besides, Part 4 is also very good." But I was like, "So out of the Friday movies, yeah, it's perfect to me." So,
Oh man, I don't
yeah.
remember it, so but I'll have to watch it. I saw, or actually, I bought the whole collection on Vudu on Friday the 13th because it was only
Oh, yes,
$13. So
that was a great deal. Yeah, that I saw that. I have the Blu-ray collection. It got really cheap too. It was like $20 for all of them on Blu-ray.
oh wow,
Well, they cut off at I think it's Jason Goes to Hell, so you get 1 through 8. So
yeah, I don't think you
so
get
you don't
Jason X or Freddy versus
go to,
Jason.
yeah, you don't get any of those. But yeah, you get the first 8, and that was a really good deal. I was like, I would have jumped that if I didn't have it already. But those are ones I can just pop those on any time, and it's like very easy watching. Like just throw this one on now.
Yeah.
But Part 7 is not a popular pick. That's the one where like he fights like the psychic girl. It's kind of like Carrie versus Jason almost, or it's
Mm.
like
Okay,
so.
that does sound familiar, but I don't remember the movie as a whole.
That was the first Friday the 13th that I saw. That's why I think I have like a attachment to that
Mm.
one. So
See, it seems like you defend your rating with it just being subjectional. It just I happen to have a better experience of it than you did.
I mean, pretty much. It's what it comes. It's very subjective. It's what it comes down to. So
And see, like some of my favorite horror movies, people will not really give me shit for it, but just they're like, really, like of all the movies you could choose, like those are your favorites. Like one of my favorites that I always watch around Halloween, which I actually just watched a couple months ago, is Idle Hands.
man, I need to rewatch it. I've been meaning to rewatch that movie for like a year. It's on
Mm.
Amazon Prime. I keep looking at it, going, I should watch that because I saw it once. I'm sure when I was younger, like when it first came out, and I remember liking it. And I've always heard great things. I just haven't had a chance to rewatch it, but I really need to. I think I will now.
It does go a little off the rails, the last act, and um, it I feel like it definitely didn't live up to its full potential, but for what you do get, it's still really fun, and it's an obvious nod to Evil Dead 2,
Hmm.
and just Evil Dead 2 like is amazing on its own. So when you get something of a clone or whatnot, and it's still gonna be fun no matter what, because it's there's horrifying things going on, but it's presented to you in a very funny way.
Funny
So
way, yeah. I love Evil Dead 2 so much. I mean, I don't know if I think that's a popular opinion too on Evil Dead 2 being probably the best of the three.
oh, definitely.
So I mean, and the first one is good, but I just would take. I think I'd always pop on the second one before I watch the first one.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, I don't think we got back to what you're. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say no. Yeah, the first one's definitely just straight up horror, whereas the second one it goes all in on the horror and it goes all in on the comedy, and they just merge so perfectly.
Yeah, we got to see that. I went at like on the big screen because we have a local theater that does like a bunch of repertory screenings, and they go all in October and show horror movies. And that was like one of the most fun screenings I've ever been to. Was that Evil Dead 2 screening? It was wild. It was really great.
I can imagine.
It was just it was crazy in there. It was really good. I hadn't seen it like in a long time,
Mm.
and I was like, okay, this is the way to watch this now.
Yeah.
So yeah, but we didn't get back to what your favorite horror movies were because now I'm curious. So
Okay. Well, if I had to do like, I'll do the top three thing. In no order. Obviously, Halloween has to be on there. I always defend that the first Alien is a horror movie. It's just set in
oh yeah,
space. Most people
it's
are like, oh, that's a science fiction movie. I'm like, no, that's a horror movie set in space.
yeah, it's like the old dark house. It's like if the spaceship was a haunted house, and then that's I can't describe. I'm not describing it terribly, but it's like
No, I was going
it's
to say actually the haunted house in space thing is rounding out my top three, because then I would probably say Event Horizon.
oh my god, yes, I'm clapping for that one. That
Yes.
yes, oh my god, I
Um,
love that movie.
if that movie does not make you uncomfortable or squirm or anything, if you can watch that with a straight face and at the end you just go, it was fine. You might have some problems.
That movie's insane. I like it's like kind of like Hellraiser in space almost. It's got this vibe of like
Yeah.
it's that I love that movie. That was a movie that I remember watching like when I was younger. And I can't remember why. Like it was on TV, and I was like, I think I thought I could handle that one. And I was like, oh, it's more like sci-fi space, and it scared the shit out of me.
Hmm.
Like when his wife pops up in that like vent,
Oh God, yeah.
that got me so bad. I feel like I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm gonna get out of here. Turn all the lights on, like run away. Um, yeah, I'm glad you said that because that's a great movie, and that's one that I'm glad is being like reassessed, and people
Yes.
have come around to like love that movie now.
That's what I was just gonna say. That was one that it was, and not really maligned, but just not as well loved at first. And like in recent years, people are like, you know what? Looking back on it, it's a very solid horror movie, and it's like, hell yes, it is.
Yeah, it's terrifying. It's very like it's like just very bleak, which I always find scary in horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not trying to be like funny or kind of wink at you. It's just like this is really brutal and it's bleak and like it's just it's a dark movie. And I remember, I think, what's funny? I think I might have watched it because I think South Park did like a parody thing. I may be completely off on the timing on this. Do you remember like they did like like a blood orgy thing?
Oh,
and that
yeah.
was like a reference to that weird tape they find that's like the people just killing each other and having sex and all that insanity that apparently got, the sad thing about Event Horizon is it got cut to bits apparently, and they lost all the footage.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Because they presented it one way, but then it was just way too crazy and gory and just way too much. So they had to have him cut it down. And after so long, I think they offered him the chance to do a director's cut, and I know they found some footage, but it was just way too damaged to restore, so they kind of abandoned it. And apparently, just recently, somebody uncovered footage that hadn't been found in a long time. Man, it was in... This is so crazy. They found the footage in a... oh God, what is it called? A salt mine in like Sweden or something like that.
Uh-huh.
But apparently they... you can store... people would store film in salt mines because I guess it's very dry in there, and that's prime environment for film, so it doesn't deteriorate. But apparently it's seen better days, so they were like, yeah, it's kind of unsalvageable, but we found it, and it's like, oh well, who cares at this point?
Thanks, great. That's even more depressing that they found it and it's unusable. Oh man.
Yeah, that's too bad, because it would have been really interesting to see what all that... I mean, it's already pretty brutal as is, so I don't know if I would want to see what they cut out of it.
That's a good point. I mean, it doesn't. I don't think it hurts it, but I am always curious to see, like when someone's like, "Oh, we had all this stuff that got cut, and but we lost it." It's like, oh God, like that happened with a couple of the Friday the 13th. There was like a period in the late '80s when MPA got like real crazy and made everybody start cutting stuff down. Like I know, like Nightmare on Elm Street 5 got really hurt by that, and Friday the 13th Part 7, actually, the new blood, got really hurt by that. So they lost all these they worked on these practical effects kills, and then they were like, oh, nope, cut it down to like nothing, so you can't even see it. And then they no one cares, so they just like throw the footage or just don't keep the footage, or when they do find it, like it looks horrible, and it's like, well, we can't even do anything with this. So, yeah, but
that's one I would like to revisit in the theater, because that's definitely a theater movie too, because they did a really good job on the visuals on that one too. Just such great wide shots of the ship and out in space and all that.
Yeah, that's one I never like see pop up like playing in a theater. I don't know what like the deal with that is. But I would if that was playing, I would go to that in a heartbeat, because that would be great. And it's funny because it's Paul W.S. Anderson, who is very hit or miss in my opinion.
Yeah.
Mostly miss. I'm being generous. And it's like, well, the funny thing is, I don't know about you, I might get judged for this, but I'm a sucker for those Resident Evil movies.
I liked the first one, and I think I gave up after this second or third.
That's understandable. I stuck it out till the final chapter, and saw all of them and watched them get basically progressively worse. The final chapter was one of the worst movies I saw in a theater, whatever year that came out. That thing was cut like, it was insane. Like I thought it was gonna have a seizure. It was just like boom, 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 boom. Like somebody just chopped it up so much that they didn't let you see anything that was happening. And I was like, man. Well, this franchise is a real piece of shit. I was like, why do I watch these? It was it's funny because I'll still go back to like the first 4 or 5. I think the last 2 were really bad, but yeah, the first, like, I'm still a sucker on that. And what's the other franchise? It's gone. But yeah, it's a guilty pleasure franchise. But do you have any? What are your horror guilty pleasures? Do you have any of those?
In terms of just movies themselves?
Movies that people kind of hate that you kind of like.
I mean, Event Horizons, I'll just say is an unpopular one. That's for sure. Um, I don't know. I feel like I'm almost I don't want to say I'm a purist, but like or sound very douchey when I say like I only go for the top tier horror, you know?
Uh huh. I only watch the highest class horror. No.
Yeah, no kidding, right? The Rosemary's Babies and those like that. Which don't get me wrong, is a damn scary movie. I remember my mom watching it. I can't remember exactly where we were, but I know she was watching it, and either I was asleep in the room and I woke up during the end, or I walked into her room during the end. But I just remember like stopping and watching when she sees the baby for the first time, and then her being terrified, and then them showing that quick shot of the baby's eyes, and I think that like scarred me for the next few years because man, that ending was just insane.
It's funny. I just saw that for the first time last year. I'd never seen it before, and it was one of my like top tier horror movies that I had not seen. And I thought it was great. It's funny thing is I just was like, this is a really well made movie. Like just beyond the fact that it's like a horror movie, I'm like, God damn, this is a good movie. I wish I didn't have so many problems with Roman Polanski, but
yeah, no kidding.
God damn, this movie is good. And just God, that whole like dream sequence with the I'm basically the devil coming in and impregnating her is friggin' terrifying. I'm like, this is insane. I was thinking I could not imagine going to a theater and seeing this in like 1968 when it came out. Like he must have been like, what the hell is going on in this movie?
My grandparents, they told me about when on one of their dates, they went and saw Psycho when it first came out, and just how terrifying that was. That's
one of those ones where if you give me a time machine and say go, like, I guess say my memory erase as well. But if you go see a movie in the theaters with an audience, and I would love to see Psycho, and not know what was going to happen, because Hitchcock had all those things where it's like, don't let people in after 15 minutes or whatever it was, and it was like, or no one will be admitted after it starts, and like everyone was like, keep the secret. Like that was another one that must have blown people's minds in 1960 because, and it's funny because everyone complains about the end of Psycho when the guy starts explaining everything.
But I mean, yeah, it's a little bit of exposition, but it's, you have to kind of wrap it up without, I feel like it's better to do it in that subtle way where you hear someone telling it as you are figuring it all out, and you just see him sitting there just kind of taking joy in it,
Yeah, and I always defend it because I say it was 1960. People probably needed that ending, or they were going to walk out just being like very confused at what was going on. Like, and it's hard. You can look back now and go, "Why'd they add all that?" I'm like, they probably needed it.
Yeah, no kidding.
So yeah, that's a great one. Speaking of like my mom, parents seeing movies in theaters. My mom saw Alien in the theater. You mentioned Alien earlier. With like my dad and a couple of their friends, and she always talks about how much she just hated it because they all loved it, and my mom does not like horror at all, but doesn't want to see, like, she hated seeing like the commercials for it when that was coming out. She was like, I don't like it, and she always talks about the Alien screening, and when the chest burster comes out, and she was like mortified, like she was like, I think I almost passed out, and your dad and our friends were just loving it and hooting and hollering, and I was screaming and nobody cared.
Oh man.
Oh, another great one to see, which I actually have seen that one at a screening, which is another great one to see with a crowd. So
yeah, if that ever comes back in theaters, I definitely have to see that one in the theater. Going back to talking about Halloween, I don't remember the specifics of when I saw the first time. I just remember starting it after my mom had left somewhere, and I can't remember how old I was. I was like 11 or I'd say about 11 or so, and watched Halloween. And as soon as there's the final shot of him laying there on the ground, and then as soon as Loomis goes and looks, he's gone. Music kicks in. You hear the breathing. Credits roll. As soon as that happened, I remember like looking at the doorway to the bedroom, and which led out to the hallway, and I just remember just staring at it for the next like 10 minutes, just waiting for somebody to come around the corner. And I eventually worked myself up so much I actually started crying, and then my mom got home as I was crying and told me, like, what's wrong? And I told her I just watched Halloween, and she looks at me and she goes, why the hell would you do that? She goes, I saw that in the theater and it scared the shit out of me, and I was 18 years old.
Oh man, Halloween is one I have a weird relationship with because I remember seeing it like a lot as a kid, but I feel like it came on a lot like on TV. I remember watching it in broad daylight a lot. It's a weird,
Oh
distinct
yeah.
memory of like it just played a lot. Maybe during October, and I remember just kind of catching and going, I could watch this because people like half the movies in daylight too. So I'm like, oh, this isn't scary. It's
Hmm.
like it's sunny outside, and I remember like, okay, I'm not scared, and like, but the ending of that one did really scare me for a while. But and Halloween's not one that like the sequels and everything never really scare me that much. I don't know why, but yeah, the first one does, and the first one now is one I can put on. It's like putting on like a record that you know really well or something. It's like
Hmm.
I can just play it in the background and just like go. I've seen it so many times. I'm just like put Halloween on for a nice relaxing night at home. You know, it's like
It's really fun to watch the Blu-ray with the commentary on and hearing Jamie Lee Curtis
oh
and John
God,
Carpenter talk about it.
yes, I was about to mention this. Where isn't she? Isn't the whole time she's like, John, that is too scary.
Yeah,
John,
just
that's
giving
so
him
scary,
shit the
John.
whole time.
Oh man, I need to listen to it again because I listened to it a long time ago, and I found it hilarious how she's just like, "Oh, John, that's just so scary." Oh man, that is great. It's what did you think? I don't. What did you think of the Halloween that came out last year with her back in it?
Um, I feel like that was a kind of controversial episode I did on the podcast too, because Cam and I reviewed it, and it was funny because it started out we were both so happy to talk about it and how good it was, but then it was funny because we got to the end of it and Cam summed it up perfectly. We got to the end of talking and he just goes, "Why'd you make me do this? Like I started it out loving this movie, now I just hate it. Like it was so bad." And I was like, "Well,
Oh no.
I think we wound up giving." I think we wound up giving it a 7, and that was just us being generous.
Oh yeah. See, I'd probably go probably 7 or 8. Like I think I watched it once since the theater. I really liked it. I saw a lot of people like you guys were. I mean, we were crapping on it, but people were just like shitting on it so hard. Like I'm like, is it that bad? We went through Halloween Resurrection. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
Like people who were like, this is horrible. I'm like, this is not anywhere near the worst thing in the franchise. Like
No,
that's
no.
insane. That's like people say like, you know, like the new Star Wars are worse than the prequels. Like, well, hold on, let's
No.
take a step back and think
Strong
about.
disagreement with that one. There was just a couple big things that really hindered it for me, like the whole spoiler alert for those who haven't seen it, but the whole doctor twist. You know,
Yeah.
that was like
Okay.
I threw my hands up and was just like, what the hell are we doing with
The
this now? You know?
the first time I saw it, I had the same reaction you did, and I said, "What in the fuck are we doing right now?"
Yeah.
And if I remember somebody said this, and I agreed. If that had kept going, I would have been very pissed. But luckily, that ended like they killed him. Well, so sorry. I won't say who. Somebody died.
Yeah.
And they move on very quickly. But it's like it that first time I was like, what in the hell? I hated it the first time. Second time I was like okay with it. I completely like was like it's fine. It's whatever. Some of the kids were annoying. Like her granddaughter's friends. Like there's
Yeah.
like stuff. I mean, it's not perfect at all, but I just thought like, you know, it was pretty well done for you know being what it was like so long after you know and all that. But yeah, I really liked it. And a lot of people just were like, "Oh, it's horrible," and I'm just like, "It's not that bad."
Yeah, and there was just I think one of the other big things was that the scare of him being in the closet, the kid's closet, was ruined
Oh, yeah,
by the trailers and whatnot. But also, it was still effective when you watched it until they immediately played it off as a joke immediately after with that kid just going, "Oh shit," and running away. You know, I feel like had they just cut that little bit out, that scene would have been so much more effective because there's a lot of comedy that came before it, and I feel like that's to diffuse the situation, but then to throw that in immediately after the scare happens is like, oh well, now you just just downplayed it.
yeah. No, those are good points. It's like, and I heard like all these criticisms, and I was kind of like, it's one of those things where I agree, kind of, but it didn't bother me. I guess you know what I mean. It's like I see what you're saying, but it just didn't bother me this way it did some people. You know,
Mm,
like the comedy afterwards. I don't know. I was like, it's fine. Like the kid didn't bother me. And I hate that. That's a whole thing though. When they ruin scares in trailers,
definitely.
do we have to do like it's like make an alternate something, a cut or something. It's like you don't have to because I think we would have probably seen that scare coming, maybe, I don't know, but you definitely ruined it when I saw the trailer 30 times before I saw the movie, and I was
Yeah,
like, oh, here comes
exactly.
that part. And there was a movie called The Prodigy. Did you see that one?
I didn't see it, but I remember uh, a part of the trailer scaring the shit out of me. It was actually really
Right.
creepy.
And they showed that, which would have been a great scare, but they showed it at the end of the trailer.
Yeah.
So, and it's funny because I think that came out and they were like, make sure you watch till the end of the trailer on like the, like you're watching on YouTube. It's like, don't turn off for the end. And that's like the only scare in that movie.
Oh yeah, I heard it
I
was
did not.
not very good.
Oh man, I did not like that movie. That thing, it was very boring. There's just not, I can't remember hardly anything about it. And the funny thing is that scare that was so good, they pretty much directly stole it from this Italian movie called Shock.
Okay.
I think is Mario Bava.
Oh wow.
And it's a great scare, but they just, I mean, it's exactly the same. Like they just took it exactly. I mean, it worked the first time, and probably no one's seen Shock, so why not just take it again? But um, yeah.
That reminded me of it reminded me of a scare they did in It Follows. Have you seen It Follows?
I have. It's been a couple of years, but I did see it.
I can't remember how the scene started out, but I know they're in the house and they all run into a bedroom, and whatever the form that it was in, I think it was a kid, and he was running towards them at the bedroom door, and they slam the door, and as soon as the door slams, it slams back open, but it's a full-grown person this time.
Yes,
And that was a really good effective scare.
That was good. I forgot. I need to rewatch that movie. That's another one that's like very, I feel like divisive. I feel like it came out and everybody was like, "Oh, it's so good," and then people turned on it, which all seems to be the pattern with some movies. It's like comes out, it gets a bunch of praise, and people see it after it got the praise, and then they're like, "It wasn't that good." Like I think the problem with that one was someone tagged that. This happens every damn year. They put a tag on a horror movie that says like, "This is the scariest movie since The Exorcist."
Yeah, no kidding.
And they think they did that to It Follows, and then people saw it and were like, it wasn't even scary. And I mean, I thought it was a good movie.
Yeah, I thought it was really good.
It was very interesting. I was gonna say, I'm curious because part of my whole like horror watching is I got deep into Asian horror, and I'm now into Italian horror. Have you had any? Have you had any? Watch anything going on there? You watch any of that?
When The Ring was huge, I watched the original one, which is, more or less the same as the American remake. But obviously the feel and tone of it is different because they have a totally different feel and tone for horror over there. So, it did scare me that I feel like it was scarier than, the American remake. I think another one I watched a lot was it was two anthology movies called Three Extremes.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of them. I haven't seen them though. But
it's weird. It was one of those situations where part one over there is actually part two here. Part two here is actually part one over there. Like who knows why they did that. But in any case, the first one that was released here to me was the best one. All I can really remember, I know there was obviously three stories. The only two I remember, one of them was called Dumplings, where this lady makes dumplings that make you like reverse age, but don't ask what's in the dumplings, but you do find out what is in them. And then the other one I remember was really good. It was called Cut. I think it was the last one on there. This crazy guy breaks into this movie producer's house and has his wife like held hostage at her piano with a bunch of like wires basically making her stick to the piano, and he's trying to get the movie producer to do something, but every time he refuses, he just starts like hacking off fingers off of her and stuff like that. And it's a really great collection though. The first one's really good. But then as far as like Italian horror movies, I think the only one I've ever really seen is the original Suspiria. I saw the remake, and I still don't know what to think of it.
That makes sense. It's insane. They're both crazy in very different ways. That's what I like about Suspiria. The first one, the original, would probably be in my top 10 of all time horror movies.
Oh, definitely. It's really good. It is really good.
And then I don't know. I think I just looked, and I was even surprised I did this. I think I 5-starred Suspiria from last year, the remake, because I really liked it. I think I wrote this review on Letterboxd, and I was like, wow, I like this more than I remembered. And it's so, I'm a real sucker. This is a really easy way to get me to like your movie. If you go completely bonkers, like by the end, I'm usually like, yes, go for like, because I saw Suspiria in a theater, and I was like, I cannot believe this ending. And then I'm watching this in like an AMC. Like it goes so
wow.
off the rails that I was watching, there was like nobody there. And I watched this couple that looked, they were on like a first date. And I don't know who picked the movie, but I think it was the girl, because the guy he kept looking at her like, what the hell are we watching? And she was like eating popcorn, like, I love it. And and by the end, he just was staring at her like, I don't know what's going on. And she was like eating it up. And but everybody else, one guy walked out. I remember that. It's one of the craziest endings I've ever seen in a movie, like in a theater. Like I've seen crazy, but it's like to see it like in a AMC. I was like, what the hell? Like this is not profitable or marketable at all.
No,
no. And it's like almost, I think it's 2.5 hours long or something. Like I didn't have a problem with. Everyone said it felt really long. I didn't have a problem with that. I thought it was like, I was really into it the whole time. But that's the thing. Well, I'll go both. Like Italian horror is something that I think you have to work into. Italian horror is insane. You feel like these people are all crazy people over there who didn't like, they don't know the rules of making a movie. So they're just doing whatever they want, which is kind of exciting. Because at first it's so weird. It's so off. Everything feels very dreamlike most of the time with their movies, and the dubbing. Because like I always watch them dub, and the dubbing's so weird and off. But that kind of starts to add to the charm after a while. But like, yeah, they just go so crazy over there. And then the other side, which is like back in the day, like in high school, when I was really getting into like, I sound like a real film douche. I was getting into cinema. I was like really getting into movies. I go to the video store and start renting like just, I don't know, somehow got into like Asian movies of like South Korea, China, Japan, like all these, because they do interesting stuff over there. First it was like action, because they do great action movies. It was like John Woo stuff. And then that led me down to the path of like Asian horror, which is some of the scariest stuff I've ever seen because I can't make heads or tails of what's happening anyway. Most of the time I'm like, what the hell is going on in this movie? And it's like, it's terrifying because like they show you stuff you've never seen before. They show you stuff you don't understand. It's very unsettling. It's funny because I have friends to this day will be like, oh, remember that time you went to that weird Asian horror face? Because I was like trying to show people. I was like, guys, you got to watch this thing called Suicide Club. We got to watch the original Ring. And people were like, I'm good. I don't want to watch that.
Yeah.
Like they do I just love Italy and all the Asian horror because they just do such crazy off the wall stuff that like, I feel like sometimes mainstream American horror it feels so safe. Like the big studio horror, it feels like you know exactly what you're going to get. Like, and I could like that, like, but it's just kind of like, okay, this beat's going to happen and there's going to be some jump scares and, but it's like the stuff around the world is just like, oh, these guys are not playing by the rules. I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, they're definitely not as strict as they are over here. That is for sure.
And and they get away with all this like weird, like sexual stuff, and the violence is like a whole different kind of thing. And it's just, yeah, it's something. So I'd recommend go seek out some good Asian horror, go seek out some good Italian horror, because they're very interesting.
I think if you want to classify this as an Asian horror movie, I have seen Ichi the Killer.
Oh, by Takeshi Makai. Am I saying his name right?
Yeah, it's something like that.
That guy, man, he's made like 150 movies. I don't know how he's done it. I have not seen Ichi the Killer actually. And if I just looked at my IMDb, it's classified as action, crime, drama, horror, and thriller.
Oh my god, yeah, that sounds about right, because it is about a hitman, but just what he does is horrifying.
Mm-hmm. I need to see that. It's just, yeah, Mackay, that guy pumps out so many movies. It's hard to keep up with what he's doing. He did make, speaking of him, the craziest movie I think I ever saw was called Gozu, Gozu. And I rented it, and it's like, it's like David Lynch meets Asian horror.
Oh
it's
man.
it's one of the it might have the craziest ending I've ever seen. um of anything. I've seen some really crazy stuff, but like I don't even want to tell you because words will not do it justice. But just add it to your watch list. Go Zoo, and just don't get mad at me later. When it's like,
I'm going to add it to that list right now so I don't forget. I think he actually directed one of the segments in the Three Extremes movies. I think it's been so long as I've seen it, but I'm pretty sure he did.
I think yeah, that sounds right. That's probably why I heard of that movie in the first place because the dumpling thing sounded familiar when you mentioned it, and I'm looking it up. He did do a segment, so it was like him, Chan Wook Park, who did Old Boy, and a guy I never heard of named Fruit Chan.
Yeah, he did. He did another one later that was really good. I think, if I'm remembering it right. I just gotta remember which one it was. I'm looking at it right now. Oh my god, he's another one that's done. So, he did. No, maybe not. I was gonna say, I think he did the audition. That was another Asian horror
I think
movie.
he did. Yeah, that's one that has been on my watch list since like I don't know, since I was like a teenager. Because oh man, speaking of great horror stuff to watch during Halloween, did you ever see this thing came on Bravo like 15-ish years ago? And
I already know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
The top 100 scariest movie moments or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, that was the time when I was kind of like inching into horror, and that thing scared me. That was hard to watch at night. I'm like, they showed some scary ass clips of stuff I hadn't seen before, and Audition was on there, and they showed this clip from that really stuck with me. Where I was like, I got to see that movie, and I still haven't seen it. It's been like 15 years.
Yeah, because they show I'll just say they show the leg scene. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, it's yeah, that's one that too. It's like it sits there for I'm like I gotta watch this, and it's like I think it's over like 2 hours long. And I know it's probably subtitled, and that's kind of like that's gonna be a kind of like not an easy watch, you know? It's like so,
and it's really all build up for the final 30 minutes. There's not a whole lot that happens in between. Yeah, it has its creepy moments, but I feel like it's all a build up for when shit just goes off the rails in the third act.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. It but I heard it's a crazy third act, so it's worth it. So
speaking of that show, have you ever seen Terror in the Aisles?
You know what? I've heard about Terror in the Aisles for years and haven't actually seen it. But I know people talk about it like it's like this mythical thing that they saw. But I have not actually seen it myself. I should probably look it up on YouTube or something.
It might be on YouTube, but I know they finally re-released it on the Halloween 2 re-release Blu-ray, the original Halloween 2. Because it's kind of like that show. There's just clips from so many movies. It's got Donald Pleasance, and he's sitting in a movie theater just kind of talking. He's playing himself. Well, yeah, he's just himself. Talking to the camera just about like why horror movies are scary, but then all of a sudden it'll cut to like a 9-minute long segment of just different scenes from horror movies, and then it's kind of got a theme throughout. But yeah, apparently it was really hard to get the rights to all the movies again to re-release it. But yeah, if you can find the Halloween 2 Blu-ray release, I think it's on there, which I'm sure by now that Blu-ray is probably like $4.
Probably. And I probably wouldn't have looked at that because I have the Halloween box set, so I probably wouldn't have gone to look for if it's just like the single Blu-ray, if it's not on the box set, then yeah. I do want to see that though, because I've heard about it for years. It is kind of like people from that, I think it came out in 84, I just looked it up. It's kind of like their generation's scariest movie moments, because that thing really made me want to see a lot of movies when they were playing those clips. I was like, oh, I gotta see that. But and I think you can still watch the Scariest Movie Moments thing on YouTube. I think I did that last year because I really wanted to rewatch it. And Bravo will like not replay it for some reason these days.
Probably the same thing, the whole rights thing, is they play clips from all the movies and whatnot. Well, actually, you know what? I remember watching it, and there were segments where I'm assuming they didn't have the rights to air it, because some movies they would show you the scene, and other movies they would just show you like stills from the movie. Yeah,
I'm guessing they didn't clear the rights to show video sometimes. They're like, we got some still photos. The funny thing is, God, they would play it to death back in the day. I remember the funniest thing was, I remember one time I came home from my senior prom, and it was like 4 a.m. and it was on, and I watched it. I was like, that's a good way to end the night. And it still scared me. It was like the sun was coming up. I was like, God damn it, they got me again.
Because I think each hour they only do 25, so there's 4 hours worth of it.
Yeah, and then they came back. They did add some more. They had like 25 more after that, which I can't remember as well. But yeah, that was great. That's the kind of stuff that you're like, I got to see that. It's good. Like, I give you like whet your appetite. Where you're like, ooh, what was that? You know, it's like that
Yeah,
crazy clip. There was a movie I hunted down for years from that show, and I couldn't remember what it was called, but I remember the clip from a movie called The Sentinel. Have you heard of that one?
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it.
Jesus, that was the scariest clip on the entire show.
Uh,
Like it's like a woman comes into her apartment and it's like completely dark. I think she has like a candle or a flashlight, and it's this big like gothic, gigantic. I don't know, it's an apartment. It's like huge place, and she like walks in, and like the door is open to a room, and then she just kind of gets past it, and the door starts to like close, and it reveals the corner, and there's this like weird white like figure who just like walks out without looking at her, and he just walks right by her. And she's like, what was that? And then he goes to another corner, and she goes over to him. He turns around. It's like a jump scare. But like that
oh,
clip scared
oh, I think I do know what you're talking about now. That does sound familiar.
was terrifying because he just like walks out of the corner like nothing's going on. He's not looking at her, and I'm just like, that was that. And the whole movie is like that's a weird friggin' movie. They at the end they got in trouble because they used like real like amputees for the end, like circus performers and amputees for like this
Yeah,
crazy like people from hell scene or something like that. It's an insane movie that could only be made like in the 70s, I'm pretty sure.
yeah, definitely.
So, but yeah, what was I going to ask you about? Oh, I have to ask. We don't have to go to a long discussion because I was listening to the last podcast. Do we want to talk about Rob Zombie at all?
It just his movies in general.
Just his movies, yeah. What you because I didn't know where you landed. Did you say you were kind of like? Because I kind of want to defend him a little bit, not against you guys, but just in general. Because I
Yeah.
feel like it's crapped on so bad, and you can go ahead, but yeah.
No, I was gonna say like my girlfriend about disowns me because I don't like House of a Thousand Corpses. I've probably watched it 3 times. First time I remember watching it in the theater, didn't like it, and then a couple years passed, and I was like, okay, I'll give it another go. It's one of those movies basically I just rewatch hoping I'm gonna like it, but it always ends, and I'm just like, nope, still hate this movie.
I've got
Um,
those movies though. The ones you try to rewatch for some reason, we keep giving them chances, and it's like they don't work. You're like, nope, not again.
yeah,
Like,
the only other movie I can think of is not a horror movie at all, but I have probably watched it 3 times, and I think the third time I gave up and was just like, nope, I do not like this damn movie. It's is Ocean's 12.
oh wow.
It's
I didn't expect you to say that, so I was
yeah,
thrown off.
yeah. I
That's
like
the worst one in that trilogy. I'll
oh
say that.
god, by
It's
far.
it's funny. It's weird how that happens because it's like same director, basically same cast, but like 1 and 3 are really good, or 11 and 13 are good, and then 12 is not good, and people always seem to agree on that.
It's
It's like,
yeah, it is terrible. And I remember like rolling my eyes, throwing my hands up. I almost left the theater, and that's when I was again 12 or 13, and I never walk out of a movie. I almost walked out of it, but I was like, well, paid my money. We're an hour in. I'll finish it. A couple years passed. Watched it again. I was like, nope, still hate this movie. A couple years passed. I was like, okay, I'll give it another go. And got 30 minutes in. I was just like, nope, I hate this movie.
that's the fun. Oh, it's funny you mentioned that. I don't think I've never walked out of a movie.
The only time I can remember walking out of a movie, and that was because my grandma made me. Um, it was during From Dusk Till Dawn.
Oh, your
When
grandma made you. Okay, I was gonna say I love that movie.
Yeah, well, the
That
funny thing was, is however old I was, I think I was 7 or 8, depending on when that movie came out in theaters. Um, and when shit started going crazy, when all the blood and gore happened, that's when she decided to, like, nope, like you can't watch this. I'm like, oh, but we just sat through like 25 minutes of strippers. Like now
I was
you're
saying, I
pulling
love
the
that she
plug.
let you get to that part of the movie and said, you know what, no more.
Yeah,
It's wow, it's pretty insane up to that point. Like it's pretty dark. Uh, I mean, wow, I'm just
that's actually when
blown
it gets
away.
fun.
I know. I love that movie. That is like an all timer. Like not like top 10, but it's like up there. Mostly because it'd be a whole other podcast for us. But Tarantino and Rodriguez. Like I was so into those guys when I was like a teenager.
Oh
Like
yeah,
so into their movies. Like they meant so much to me. I was listening to commentaries, interviews. Like, so when I found out that movie existed, I was like losing my mind. I was like, wait, they did a movie together. Like, so that's so funny to me. Your grandma was like, nope, now we need to leave.
yeah. Uh,
Um,
I guess
but yeah, so
yeah, going
oh,
back
go
to Rob Zombie. Um, I do really like The Devil's Rejects. That's a really good movie. Um, Lords of Salem is a good looking movie, but again, it got to the end and I just kind of eye rolled and was like, okay, well, I watched that apparently. Um,
Oh man, that's well. Keep talking. I got more. I got
oh, okay.
thoughts.
Still haven't seen 31. But from what I've
Still haven't seen
heard, it
that. That's
was
the only one I
just
haven't seen.
yeah. From what I heard, it was either bad to okay, but that was about it. As far as his Halloween movies go, I do like the first one. Um, the second one is just god awful in my opinion, which is crazy because I feel like a lot of people defend that movie saying it's better than the first one, and I'm just like, how? Please give me your reasons on how that's the better of the two because I can't see it.
Oh man, this is great. I got so I don't know where to start. So how I like pretty much all his movies I've seen. I haven't seen 31, mostly because I heard it's horrible and I haven't been bothered to like press. It's like streaming multiple places. I could watch it anytime, but I'm like, am I in the mood for 31? But I've liked everything I've seen except his Halloween movies. I think the first time I saw them, I didn't see them in theaters. And I can't, it was a few years ago now. And I finally was like, you know what? I've heard a lot about this Halloween Rob Zombie movies. I'm going to pop them in, watch them back to back. It was a horrible decision
Oh
because
man.
first of all, I only had access, I think because the Halloween Blu-ray set only comes with the director's cuts,
Hmm.
which aren't like that much longer, but they push them to like be 2 hours long, which is too long.
Yeah, definitely.
And the funny thing is I have the opposite opinion of you where I like the second one slightly more, but for reference, like if I think on IMDb I rated them a 3 and a 4. So
Oh wow. Okay. Well.
I despise them, but it's like they mostly because they made me feel so shitty when they were over. I was like, this is the bleakest, ugliest, meanest
Yeah.
thing. Like, and it's funny because I can watch the first Halloween and it's like a light. It's like it's people get murdered and stuff, but I don't know. It's like something about his Halloween movies are so brutal.
Oh, especially compared to the second one. The second one's extremely
Good
brutal.
Lord. Yeah, the second, and the only reason I say I like the second one more than the first one to people, and people, I had a friend the other day was like, "What? You like the second one more than the first?" And I was like, the only reason I like that more is because at least Rob Zombie got to do his own thing in the second one, and I know a lot of people hate his own thing, but it's
Yeah.
like the first one's like half of it's that backstory, which I hate with like every fiber of my being. That whole like Michael Myers backstory drives me nuts because it's like a montage. Correct me if I'm wrong. Where he's like young Michael Myers, he's all angsty, and he's like sitting on the stairs, and his mom's stripping, and Love Hurts is playing.
Oh yeah.
That happens, right? Okay,
Yeah.
that's like that kind of stuff. I'm like, I don't need to see Michael Myers like that ever. And then the second half is just like, basically a remake of the first Halloween. So I'm like, I get nothing out of this movie. And then the second one at least has like interesting stuff, even if it might be bad, I guess. Like there's stuff in that one that like at least I'm going, okay, this is at least like Rob Zombie doing whatever he wants, which is a little more interesting to me than the first one. But I do hate both of them. Like that's two people have really come around on is those Rob Zombie Halloween movies the past like year or so. I've seen more positive stuff and I'm like, should I watch these again? I was like, I don't know if I want to. Like, and I will go to bat really hard. Like I really like House of Thousand Corpses. I like Devil's Rejects more every time I watch it, but I don't watch that much because once again, it's very brutal and very bleak.
Yeah.
But Lords of Salem, I think, is very underrated, and I'm very alone in that opinion. Like that, it's the first time I watched that movie. I'll never forget. I was like sick, and I'd like recorded it off TV, and I was at home middle of the day, and it actually scared me. And people might laugh at that, but like the ending with that whole crazy. I don't know what's going on. Like that, the birth of that child, like it's so, I don't know. Something about that really disturbed me in a weird way. I know it didn't work for everybody, but like, I think it's a really interesting movie. And I think the sad thing is that I think he really tried to go out and do something different from what he usually does. And it didn't work at all. And then he had to go right back to doing something like 31, which apparently is like just kind of like the typical Rob Zombie movie with like rednecks and, like
yeah, exactly.
But I really I think Lord Salem is like really effective and I think it works and it's like creepy and like it has a weird like Italian horror type flavor to it. So I go to back the movie a lot. Like I just like, and Rob Zombie in general, because it's almost like a daily occurrence, excuse me, in like these horror groups I'm in where somebody goes, Rob Zombie's garbage. I wish you'd stop making movies. And it's like, but I mean, my point and my grander point was that like I really like directors where I can tell that they made the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah,
they have a
definitely.
voice and they have a style. Like I know Rob Zombie's style sometimes is like not for everybody, and it's kind of grating sometimes, even to me. Like the beginning of Halloween is very Rob Zombie, like the dialogue and like
Oh
it's like
God. Yeah.
Rob, people don't talk like this all the time.
Yeah. No.
Like that, he needs to hire like a co-writer because I think that's his weakest thing. But but yeah, it's like I appreciate at least somebody out there like who's clearly passionate about making movies because he keeps doing it even though he like budgets get cut and things fall through and like he has bad experiences. But like, and I can tell it's a Rob Zombie movie, which I appreciate over some guy who just makes a cookie cutter movie that I can't even tell that they directed it. So
I just listened to him on Joe Rogan's podcast, and
I was about to mention that. Yeah.
did you listen to that too?
I listened to some clips and mostly the clip on YouTube about the Halloween meddling from the producers.
Yeah, Joe asked him like what the hardest movie is that he's ever had to make, and he said the Halloween movies because he said he had a terrible experience with the first one and turned them down, or was going to turn them down for the second one, but then he thought, you know what, like okay, the first one was bad, that means this one's going to be okay. And he said it was actually like 10 times worse filming the second one because
God.
the studio meddling. He said they would show him clips from the first movie and being like, oh, see, we really like this and we need you to make it look more like this. And he was like, yeah, I know what this is. I'm the one that made this. Why are you showing this to me? You know?
Oh, yeah. See, that kind of stuff, it's like, I feel bad for the guy. It's like, I know he tries, and then it's like, stuff like that happens to him. And yeah, so that's just, I don't know if those movies would be better though. I mean, mostly because I just love the first Halloween so much. I don't need like someone to redo it like that, especially.
Yeah.
And the funny thing was, I looked up those movies the other day, and that first Halloween of his made a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
I can't find it right now, but I think it made like almost, okay, I found it right now. 80 million worldwide for like a movie that cost $15 million.
Yeah, that's
like,
pretty good.
That's a huge hit. So I didn't know it did that well, but it's like that's a number I watch and I go, this is not appealing. I think this is probably brutal for me. If it's too brutal for me, then it's like I imagine people in theater were like, Jesus Christ, calm down, buddy. It's like it's a lot of stuff.
And to kind of bring it full circle, I went and saw that Halloween in the theater with my mom, which was kind of cool because she was like, oh, I saw the first one in the theater, and now it's however long later it was, 30 years later. And then we went and saw that one, and when we got out, we were both just kind of like, it was fine. Like, obviously, it's not going to hold a candle to the original, but I liked that they did the backstory thing, just in the sense that he wasn't just trying to remake the first movie, but then you get to the halfway point, and you're like, oh, we are remaking the first movie.
Right. It's a weird movie because it's like he's trying not to, but I hate that part. And then he's doing it. And I'm like, well, why am I watching this? I can watch the originals. And that's why 2. Oh, and there's a part in 2 that I think is like one of the best things he's done, which is this. I'll try not to spoil it, but like the scene with Danielle Harris and, oh Jesus, the voice of Chucky. I'm blanking. Who played her dad.
Oh, Brad Dourif.
That scene with like, there's like, he's intercutting photos of her as a kid and like the music choice. Is like really good because you don't get those kind of big emotional beats sometimes in horror movies, and that one actually like hit me. I was like, oh shit, okay. Like,
yeah, I think had that movie been about the two of them, it would have been a lot better because they didn't make Laurie a very good character in that series.
No. she is not great. It's like Jamie Lee Curtis is so likable in the first one. But yeah, that girl just, I mean, I get the second one we were trying to do. I appreciate that too. They're trying to do like this PTSD thing, which you probably should have if you were attacked by a masked maniac. You would probably be pretty messed up.
Yeah, no kidding.
Like, so I kind of like they were trying that angle too. That's the kind of stuff, see why I would rate a little more in the first one, because at least he's trying some things that are like, okay, I see what you're going for. I don't think it worked that well, but it's like, yeah you were trying. So
I can't stand the shit with the unicorn or whatever the hell. That's just, oh my God.
I don't understand what that is either. I don't know. It's very strange. I don't know what once again, but I'm like, well, he tried something. It didn't work. But
yeah. I'm curious to see 3 from Hell though.
Oh, I did see that. I forgot to mention that when I was going through his movies. I liked it. And that one took a weird turn halfway where it almost became like I think I described it in my review as like it becomes like a really brutal Robert Rodriguez Desperado era movie.
Oh shit.
Like, yeah, I won't say more than that, but it was very interesting to me where it went, and I was like, oh, this is actually pretty cool because the first half's pretty much what you'd expect, and it's a little too close to Devil's Rejects. And the second half takes this turn where I'm like, okay, this is interesting. So, I mean, I think it's good. I think it's a solid movie. So that's another good one. So I gotta see 31, which will probably disappoint me, but
I see it on Shudder all the time. I'll probably just have to throw it on one of these days.
yeah, I really just watch it because then also it's like an OCD thing for me where I'm like, okay, it's the only movie of his I haven't watched yet. I should just watch it and just be done with his whole filmography. So that's my little defense of Rob Zombie.
Yeah, we'll see what happens after I finally see Three from Hell, which I think is going to be released the next couple weeks on like
it's coming out really soon. It's like I think it's mid-October. It's coming out like really soon. So
yeah, I'll definitely have to see that, and then we'll come back and see how my Rob Zombie film rankings stack up, because right now it's more dislike than like, and I do agree it's not anything against him. It's just I can see the passion and see that he's trying, and maybe it's just the way he is as a storyteller just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah. And I mean, I appreciate, I don't think you didn't attack him as like personally. People go after him so hard. Like he's like the worst, it's just like, what a piece of shit. I hate his movies. Like, does it bother you that much? It's like people get so mad at him and I don't get it. I'm like, man, it's like, the guy clearly loves horror. It's not like he's making this up, and these aren't like, it's not like he's making a ton of money. I don't think, it's like, I think he had to scrape together, I don't know what it was to make Three from Hell, but it's like, basically since Halloween, I think it's been a fight for him to get stuff made. So
yeah, that's why he keeps just they just keep getting to be like littler and littler movies,
Yeah, which is unfortunate, but
yeah. Oh man, all right. Well, I thank you for doing this, man. This was, oh my god, I can't believe we already did an hour and a half. I'm like ready to keep going, but it's been a long day for me, and I know it's probably been a long day for you too.
It has. Once I start talking though, I'm fired up. We'll have to do another one down the road here. I would love to come back to do a top 10 of 2019 episode with you, if you would be down for that.
Oh yeah, definitely. We will definitely have to do that.
I put this list out every year, and but I don't get to talk about them, which is like, I would love to talk about them more, like to expound on my top 10, but something like that, or there's plenty of stuff we could do. I'll go for like another 2 hours here, but yeah, if you're tired, I'm tired. So.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, well, because lists are always fun because there's just so much debate that can go on as you go down the list. So
yeah, I love even listening to I don't know if you listen to a movie podcast called F This Movie. It's my favorite movie podcast. They're great. It's like they know what they're talking about, but they don't like talk down to you like they're like, oh, they're not like, oh, we're cinema people. It's like they just love movies, and their lists are always fun because they do this thing where they go back and forth. So if we both had our top 10s, it'd be my 10, then your 10. And if your 10 was higher on my list, we would say like, hold off on that. And it's just like this fun.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like this fun, like kind of round robin back and forth. And it's like just fun to listen to. So I'm a big like list ranking person. So I'm all about that. So
it's fun and hard at the same time.
It is. Yeah. It's difficult, especially like I find it harder like near the end of the list. I usually know my top couple things like solidly. Okay, this is number 1, and I'm like, is this 10 or 9? It's like, then it's kind of like I don't know where to put this. but yeah, it's fun. So we'll have to do this again. It's a good time. So.
Definitely, man. Yeah, and thank you again for doing it. It's definitely gonna happen again. That is for sure.
Yeah, no problem, man. It was a good time. So
all right, man. Well, you take care.
All right, thanks. Have a good one.
You too.